Okay, so we're ready to move on to the next step in the instructions, and we're going on to step 16. And this is going to be including the bridge area, the bridge dome, and B and C decks. You can see there's quite a few of the fiber optics that are going to come through. So step 16, cement the main bridge dome and the main bridge together. Use a micro drill to carefully drill 30 holes in the main bridge at every window. Bundle and tape 30 of the 7-inch fiber optic strands together. Affix the fiber optics to the pre-drilled windows as you did in the previous steps. So you can see we're going to bundle them all, and it's going to be 30 going around the bridge section. And then step 17 is going to be the main hull, the top of the primary hull. Drill a hole in the top of the upper main hull, large enough for fiber optic bundles from the main bridge assembly to fit through. Slip the bundle through the hole and cement the main bridge assembly in place. Bundle and tape 30 of the 14, 30 of the 10, and any remaining fiber optic strands together. Spread the strands out along the inside of the main hull and select the windows to drill. Note, use the longer strands to reach the outer edge. Use the micro drill to carefully drill enough holes in the upper main hull to accommodate all the remaining fiber optic strands. Affix the fiber optics to the pre-drilled windows as you did in the previous steps. So I'm going to see if there's any that are going to be long enough where I can actually do the windows on the side. But before we do that, we actually have to paint. So we're going to paint the bridge, B and C decks, the island, and we're going to paint the top of the primary hull and get it ready. So we can start off with that. We can put this aside. You can see this wonderful mess that we had just gotten done doing. And what we're going to do is we're going to get the primary hull, the top part. Let's put this aside so nothing happens to it. And we'll put the fiber optic strands to the side for now. You guys can see the bridge and the where it's going to be drilled. And you remember the mirror finish that we had done. And there's some overspray. So like we did with all the other pieces, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean this. We're going to use the paint thinner. And we're going to clean the surface of the top of the ship off. There we go. Looks a little better. You can see it's nice and clean. And the paint is going to adhere to it much better. Okay, we're going to be using the Chalky Chicks. And again, this is the blue steel, and I have a nice big fluffy paintbrush that we're going to use. And let's take the bridge off of the parts tree. And let's see, we should file it down. You guys can see the areas that need to be filed. Not a lot, just enough to take it off. There. So what we're going to do with this and the top of the primary hull, we're actually going to tape it into place. That way there, we won't be touching it. So we're going to get our friend Mr. Duct Tape. We're going to fix it to the top of the can. And I'm going to put the bottom. That way there it'll be held in place so we can paint it. Alright, let's do this area first. And it's not going to take much. Again, we don't have to do the bottoms or the sides because that's going to be glued into place in the top of the primary hull. But there, we get it nice and coated. Make sure there are no brush strokes, and make sure we have all the areas that are going to be seen. So that looks pretty good. So now we can do the top of the primary hull. And there. You can see there are no brush marks. It's nice and even. And I'll take that piece out before I put the second coat on. That's in the shuttle bay. So that'll be smoothed out. So now we're going to wait for this to dry and we'll put a second coat on. Okay, so it had some time to dry. And you can see the first coat is on. It's nice and even. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this little piece out. A little bit of flask that I missed. So let's just yeah. You guys can see this section had a nice time to dry, so it's nice and even. So let's go ahead, we'll put the second coat on and it'll be ready to start detailing. There we go. Put a nice even coat. It's a little bit heavier than the first coat. The first coat kind of acts like primer. So when this is dry, totally dry, I'm going to let it dry overnight, and then we'll be able to start detailing the top of the primary hull. Okay, so it had a chance to dry. I let it dry overnight, so both coats are nice, even, stroke and brush free. I think the 2 coats is going to be enough, and it's looking good, so we can move on now to detailing these. Now there's not going to be a lot to detail on the bridge section and B and C decks. We'll do the drilling for the fiber optic cables later, and there's a section of the bridge that's going to go in. But for now, there's not a real whole lot of painting for detail on this part. So we're going to put this aside, and we're going to focus on the top of the primary saucer section. So we're done with using the paint can. You guys can see it came out pretty decent, nice and even. The paint is thin enough where you can still see all of the detail, so you don't want to gob it on there just to get it all over with in one coat. If you put 2 medium coats, that's a whole lot better instead of 1 heavy coat, because it'll fill in the windows and you won't be able to see a lot of the detail. So what I think we're going to do now is we're going to paint the phaser array just like we did for the bottom part of the saucer section. So we're going to use the same kind of paint. We're going to use the black apple barrel. This is acrylic, and we've been using the water-based paints for everything in the ship so far. And like I had said when we had done the bottom of the secondary hull, because the gray is darker, I'm going to put the phaser arrays black. That'll make them stand out better. If you can see on the box, they didn't really detail a phaser array at all. And if you look at the TV show, on screen you can see the phaser arrays, but like I said, I'm going to keep continuing what I did. Then we have to do all the escape pods. You guys know there was like 1,000 of them on the bottom part. You can see them all along the outer edge, and you can see all the windows. There's more windows on the upper saucer section than there were on the bottom. So we got to do the phaser array, we have to do the escape pods, we have to do the windows, and we need to do the decals, the registration number, the title, name of the ship. So we've got a lot to do before we can follow the instructions and start putting the fiber optics in. So let's get it started, and we're going to do the phaser array. Alright, so we painted all the way around the phaser array. And again, guys, be kind, remember, I didn't mask it, I did it freehand, so I know it's not perfect, but it's done. And what we're going to do now is we're going to wait for it to dry. Okay, so you can see, had some time to dry, and it's even now. So what we can do now is we're going to do the process of doing all of the escape pods. You can see them all. And like we did for the bottom part of the primary hull, we're going to work inside out. So we're going to go and we're going to start by doing the ones on the inside, and we're going to work our way out eventually. So you can see we'll start with the ones on the island or the raised section. We'll start with that first. And you guys remember, we used the French vanilla. That ended up making the escape pods look good. Okay, so you can see we painted in all of the escape pods. See if I can get it all in a shot for you. I don't know how many there are. I feel like there's 600. But it's all set. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait for them to dry completely, and then we're going to start to work on the windows. Okay, so it's all nice and dry. And again, guys, I did it all freehand, so be kind. And what we're going to do now is we're going to fill in the windows and the vents. So what I'm going to do is, like I did for the bottom of the secondary hull and the bottom of the primary hull, I'm going to use a Sharpie, and we're going to use a new one. And we're going to start with the back of the ship. There we go. So we got all the windows marked in, and we have all the escape pods painted on, and we have the phaser array. So we're all set now. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and we're going to put on the decals. I don't think there's anything on here. No, because all of the windows that are on this section are going to be drilled out, and with the filaments are going to be put in. So there's nothing else to do on this one except to drill. But for this, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get all the decals ready. Okay, so we're ready to move on, and we're going to put all of the decals on the top of the primary hull. You can see to this point, we've got the paint, the base coat, we've got the phaser arrays, all the windows are colored in, we've got the escape pods, you see the island. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do the decals. Oh, by the way, I had put the markings in the windows on B and C decks, because I had forgotten to do that earlier. But I did want to show you guys that I marked those in. Okay, so let's start with the back of the ship first, or the back of the primary hull, or the aft end. And let's see, what do we got? You can see we have, what are these? These are decals 35A and 35B. So let's locate those right off the bat. Let's see. We've got 35A and 35B right there. So, now because these are so old, these decals, it's going to take some time for them to soften up in the water, and it's definitely going to take some time to activate the glue. So I got some warm water, and I put just a little drop of dish soap in the water, and what that's going to do is that's actually going to cause, well, it's going to act like a humectant, and it's going to break water tension, so it'll penetrate a little bit better into the stickers or decals. So what I like to do, and the water is warm, obviously it's not scalding hot, but it is on the warmer side. And instead of letting them soak, what I like to do is I'll soak them in the water, and then I'll put them on a flat surface, and they'll absorb the water that way. If you leave them in the bowl, eventually they're just going to come off and they're going to go all over the place. So to avoid that, that's what I do. So we got those, and you can see the NCC 1701D is decal 3, and the word Enterprise is decal 4. So you can see them right here, decal 3 and decal 4. Alright, so once again I used the toothpick and I did the ends of the phaser arrays. You can see the impulse engines, the lines are there. We've got the NCC 1701D and we've got Enterprise beneath it. And we've got the two vents on either side. And that's it for the aft end. So we're going to switch our attention now and go to the forward end. And for that section of the hull, there's really not a whole lot. You can see there's two more vents, and there's the the registry number and the name Enterprise. So we'll start with those. You can see there are let's see, decal 7 that goes on either side. But let's start with the vents in the front. And those are 34. You can see 34 A and B. Okay, so we got all the decals on, you can see. And we just have to wait for that to dry. And then the only part left for this section will be to drill out the holes. But what we're going to do now is we're going to work on the shuttle bay. And from what we did before, you guys remember we had the shuttle bay doors, and I painted them granite gray. I'll show you guys. I know they're supposed to be darker, but I wanted them to stick out. So you can see we did them in granite gray, and that's what we're going to do with this door, so they all match. There. So like I pointed out in earlier videos, I know it's supposed to be a dark gray, but if we put it dark gray, it'll blend in, and I want them to stick out. So we got the granite gray, and that's all set, and we'll wait for that to dry. Okay, so we painted it the granite gray, and like I said before, I know it's supposed to be darker, but because the ship color is darker, I want the shuttle bay doors to stand out. So we'll wait for this to dry, and we'll be able to put it into place. And are there any decals on the shuttle bay door? No. So we got all the decals in place on the primary hull. And the only thing we got next is, like I said, we're going to do the shuttle bay. And we're going to use some Plastruct Bonding. And you can see where this is that little tab. It's going to go right there. So you guys can see how it's going to go into place. And we'll give that a minute to dry. Okay, so it had a little while to dry, and you can see how it's going to go in. You can see how it's going to look. It's going to actually help to anchor the shuttle bay door that's going to go there. And this quite isn't dry, so we give it a little bit longer to dry. In the meantime, we're going to put this aside, and we're going to drill the windows. As you can see, we're going to move on to step 16. Cement the main bridge dome and the main bridge together. Use the micro drill to carefully drill 30 holes in the bundle and tape 30 of the 7-inch fiber optic strands together. Affix the fiber optics to the pre-drilled windows as you did in the previous steps. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the dome and the bridge dome. Looks like number 500. So let's look for that. Alright, so they got the bridge dome in blue, clear blue. Again, I'm going to use some of the Plastruct bonding, and it kind of just pushes in. I don't know, let me see if I can light this for you. You guys can see. Hopefully that'll light. I don't know if that'll... It may be illuminated. I'm not going to run a light directly to it, but... Alright, so now the bridge section and B and C decks are all set. And all we got to do now is drill. So we're going to take the 7-inch fiber optic. There's going to be 30 holes drilled. So there must be 15. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there's 15. And we're going to drill 2 holes on each one. So that'll be the 30 fiber optic cable. So let's get the micro drill. Okay, so we had run into a problem where the drill bit broke off and they only gave 1 drill bit. I wish they would have given 2. The Enterprise Incident model kit, they actually give 2, but for this one they only gave 1. Anyway, it ended up breaking, so I had to get another one. And I got a rotary tool. This one's cordless, and I just did a video on this one if you want to check it out. And I don't know if the bit is quite as small as the one that they had. Well, you can see. Let me see if I can show you guys the size of the filament. So the hole is going to be a little larger than the fiber optic filament. But let's go ahead and we're going to drill. Okay guys, so this is going to conclude part 1 of this video because I'm having a hard time figuring out how to drill the holes. So 16, 17, and 18 part 1 because the drill, the rotary tool is not holding it in place, and it's not spinning, it's not going through. So I got to figure out how I can replace the drill bit. So I got to see how I can get another one of these drill bits. So I'll check eBay, and my next video will drill all the holes and we'll put all the fiber optics in. But that was the conclusion of part 1 of this video, and I hope you guys stick around. We'll be doing part 2 as soon as I get the drill.